Today we're talking about how to clean and store your latex clothing properly. Now clearly it's important that we take good care of all of our clothing and sex toys to keep them in tip-top condition, but there are a few reasons why this is really important with latex clothing in particular. First and foremost, latex is a natural substance. It is a natural rubber which over time will degrade anyway. Now this takes a really long time to happen, so you don't need to worry if you've just bought yourself a latex piece of clothing. It's not going to sort of disappear or disintegrate overnight. The good news is though, the better care you take of your latex clothing, the longer it's going to last. Latex is not a breathable fabric and it's usually a very tight fitting garment, so it's no surprise that we usually sweat when we're wearing it. And of course sweat in itself isn't a nasty bodily fluid on its own. However, if it is left to linger on your clothing, it can sort of help to grow bacteria, which is going to cause a funky smell, and it's also going to go on to degrade your garment. And of course, you want your garment to be nice and clean for the next time you'd like to wear it. So now you know why you should wash your latex clothing. We're going to talk about how you can actually do that. This is a hand wash garment only. It's not as much of a nightmare as hand washing regular clothes like this. To wash your latex properly, you're going to need 5 different things, and those are warm water, regular hand soap, a hanger, talcum powder, the latex. So first things first, I have got my vessel of water. And this could be a washing up bowl, could be a bathtub. Depends how much latex you've got to clean, how big the garment is, or whether you've got several pieces of clothing to wash. Today, I'm just going to be showing you how to wash some latex gloves. So I think this amount of water is going to be just plenty for me. And at the moment, I've only got water in here, so I'm now going to add some soap. I'm just going to swish that up a little bit just so we've got some bubbles. There we go, that'll do. Next, I'm going to put my latex into the water. So at this stage, we're just going to actually pop it into the warm water, move it around a little bit just to help make sure it gets wet on both sides, so on the inside and the outside of the latex. Now, whilst that does its thing and it just sort of sits there happily in some bubbly water, I'm going to give you some more advice. Quite an important thing to note is that you shouldn't scrub your latex garments. Actually scrubbing it, picking at it, using any kind of sponges or anything like that should not ever come into this. It can damage your latex, and obviously the whole point of this is to prolong the life of your latex, not ruin it. Now that my latex has sat and sort of soaked for a little while, as you'd sort of do with the washing up really, I'm going to go back in and just have a good look and give it a feel. Now, chances are, if you watched my other latex video on how to wear latex, you'll know that I always recommend using a good silicone lube to shine up your latex. It's amazing for that. However, silicone lube is waterproof, so you will be able to feel it when it's on your piece of clothing under the water. So basically just feel all along your latex, see if you can feel any slippery bits, any bits that feel more slippery than the rest of it, and give those a little bit of extra attention and give it a good rub over just with your fingertips. Now at this point I'm going to make a mess in the studio and I'm going to remove the latex from the water. What you want to do is simply let it drip off, so try and get as much of the excess water off of your latex as you can so it doesn't drip all over the floor. And as you can see, I'm not stretching the material at all, I'm just effectively stroking down. It slips down nicely, and I can tell you already this is feeling much better. I can't feel any silicone on this glove anymore. There we are. And now we just need to let nature do its thing. So we're going to let it drip dry, air dry, let that water evaporate off of it. And this is where our special hanger comes into play. You'll need to hang your garment up somewhere where it's not in the way and where you don't mind the drips dripping. So a lot of people will choose to hang theirs in the shower, above the bathtub. If you don't have this luxury, you can always hang it above anywhere really, over a door perhaps, but pop a towel on the floor just to catch those drips. And it's incredibly important that you do not hang your garment in direct sunlight. Direct sunlight doesn't just fade colour out of latex, but it can actually begin to degrade the latex itself. Just let air do its stuff. You don't need sunlight involved for this one. You should not use a metal hanger, so you can use one like I've just shown you there, which is a fabric coated one. You can use wood, you can use plastic, but don't be tempted to use anything with any metal on it. And this includes those sort of clippy hangers. If you want to use a clippy hanger, just check inside to make sure that it doesn't have a metal piece inside it, because sometimes they do, because metal will degrade your latex. It can leave stains, it can mark it, it can actually sort of begin to disintegrate the actual material itself. So avoid metal at all costs. And now you just need to wait for it to dry. Now, when when you return to your air drying piece of latex, you might find it looks a bit streaky. Don't panic, it's just where the water has been sort of dripping down the latex itself. Don't worry, when you come to wear it next time, that will buff out when you shine it. If you want to do that at this point, you can. I wouldn't involve any silicone lube or anything, just get a cloth and just sort of buff it out as best you can. But like I said, it's not really vital at this point. So here we go, we've got my clean, dry piece of latex. We're going to take it off the hanger. Now you may have found that the inside surfaces have stuck together during this process. So my best advice would be to get your fingers in there and just sort of wiggle it a little bit, try and separate them. Now you can either rehang that to try and get the inside to dry properly with a little bit of a gap there, or of course you can flip the garment completely inside out, rehang it and just let it finish off air drying. Once you are happy that it is completely dry, it's at this point that you want to start preparing it for storage. Now you can store it just as it is, but believe me, it will make your life so much easier if you talc it. The reason you want to talc your garment is because it just stops it sticking to itself. If you've got other latex clothing, it stops them all sticking to each other, and it stops sort of fluff, hair, all those other unwanted things sticking to your piece of clothing between wears. So here we go. I'm going to talc inside first because it's easier. So I've folded this up as it's a gauntlet because the last time I did this, the cleaner wasn't very happy with me. Let's just say that. There's talc everywhere. It's such a mess. So there we go, I've been quite generous. It's better to use a bit more than you need than a bit less. So I'm just basically smooshing that all around inside, and you can't see it, but there are clouds of talc going everywhere right now. Now, let's try to take this on the table this time. Oh, look. Oh, you can't see. There's hardly any excess, actually. I managed to get that quite right. Top tip, when you're talking, also do this above your bathtub or above a towel. Don't do it on carpet because, well, you have to get the vacuum out, and who likes vacuuming? Now onto the outer surface, I'm just going to lay this out. So again, you'd probably have this laid on a towel or perhaps in your bathtub, doesn't matter, either works. But we're just going to sprinkle like so on the outside, just show you, to give you an idea of how much I've used. But you can use as much or as little as you like. You'll soon get used to what works and what doesn't. Now, this may feel like you're undoing all of your hard work of cleaning, because if you take a look now, it's quite white compared to the side I've not done. And you might feel like you've just made your lovely latex piece of clothing dirty again, but you haven't. What you are doing is you are making it in optimum condition for good storage. So this is important. And basically what this means is it no longer sticks to itself. It's sort of not tacky or anything like that anymore, and it's effectively just allowing it to slip and slide over the rest of your latex clothing and other things that you might be storing along with your latex. Now once you get to this stage, it's time to put your latex away. Now you can fold it, you can put it in a drawer, but to stop it getting creased or potentially having things put on top of it and stuff like that, really, without a doubt, the best way you can store latex is to hang it up. So we refer back to our non-metal hanger, and you basically just want to hang it up. Obviously this glove is a bit silly, but if you had a dress, it would look a lot more sensible on here. And then optimum conditions to keep latex in, well, optimum condition are dark and cool. Make sure you put it inside a garment bag. It is just worth noting again how important that instruction is. Sunlight will actually degrade the latex itself, so just avoid it at all costs. Having said that though, don't worry about wearing latex in sunshine, if that makes sense. You know, clearly you don't want to be sat in blistering sunshine in a latex garment. I can't imagine it would be particularly comfortable. But don't panic. Don't feel like as soon as you put on a latex garment, you've got to stay indoors, in wardrobes, inside dark environments. We're talking about more when something's being stored for a long amount of time in a consistent environment. So there you have it. That is how you wash and store latex garments. So just to run you through it again, you're going to hand wash that in some bubbly soapy water. That water should be warm, not too hot, not too cold. You're going to let it drip dry, air dry. You're not going to scrub it at any point. Once it's dry, you're going to talc it, and then you're going to store it in a cool, dry environment. Always keep your latex away from metal because it can stain and degrade the material. Do not ever put it in the washing machine or the dry cleaners or anything like that. That's a big no-no. And of course, do not expose it to anything oily. So this is a given with all latex, but any oil should be kept completely away from it. And this actually includes those sort of oil-infused talcum powders that you can sometimes buy. My top tip would be to avoid talcs that have any perfumes or any, sort of fancy oils in them, because if that's going to be sat on your latex, that's going to, over time, again, degrade that material. So just use a simple, non-perfumed, non-fancy talc.